What is an argument? An argument is a claim supported by another claim or claims. The claim that supports the other claim is called a premise. The claim that is being supported and is the main claim is called the conclusion. It is also called the argument. Now, an argument is not a disagreement between two or more people. Get rid of that definition right now if you have it in your heads. We're talking about the academic definition, which is an argument is a claim supported by another claim or claims. And the claim that is supporting the other claim is called a premise. And the claim that is being supported and is the main claim is called the conclusion. Now, how do we know what is a premise and what is a conclusion in an argument? It's related to words that are called inference indicators. These are a set of words that signal which part of a sentence is the premise and which part of the sentence is the conclusion. There are two types. There are premise indicators and conclusion indicators. Premise indicators are words that are followed by a premise. So what follows these words is always a premise. They're words like as, since, for, and because. These are the four common types of premise indicators in the English language. These four words on the left. Less common words, yet still premise indicators, include the phrases as shown by, inasmuch as, follows from, and given that. Conclusion indicators are words that are followed by conclusions. So conclusions follow these words. Words like therefore, this is the number one conclusion indicator in the English language. Thus, so, consequently, and hence. These are the most common conclusion indicators in the English language. Other words, accordingly, or the phrase this demonstrates that, this shows that, this proves that, and then. And think about this shows that and this proves that. They're easy to remember that they're conclusion indicators because what follows them is the point. It's the main claim. It's the argument. If I say, I've got a lot of money, this shows that I'm rich. I'm rich is the argument. Or I've got the best points on my basketball team. This proves that I'm the best player. That is the main point. That's the argument. So these are conclusion indicators. Now, premise indicators, conclusion indicators, you have to memorize them. Because they will signal which part of the sentence is a premise and which part is a conclusion. If you have a conclusion indicator and you're looking for the premise, it's what will come before it. So does that make sense? The conclusion indicator is followed by the conclusion, but what comes before it is the premise. So premise, conclusion indicator, conclusion. Example number 1. Jane is a great cook because her close friends and even her co-workers both ask her to cook for their Christmas parties. This is an argument. First step is to look for the inference indicator, which in this sentence is because. Because is a premise indicator, meaning what follows it as the supporting claim is the premise. It's what supports the main claim, the argument. So her close friends and even her co-workers both ask her to cook for their Christmas parties is the premise. Supporting claims, premises, they have to be facts or hard evidence. And this is a fact or hard evidence. People are asking her to cook for their Christmas parties. That's a big party. So the main claim, the conclusion, is Jane is a great cook. That is an argument. It's a claim, which is Jane is a great cook, supported by another claim or claims, which is her close friends and even her co-workers both ask her to cook for their Christmas parties. Example number 2. Germany's soccer team is better than Argentina's soccer team because Germany's team won the World Cup in 2014. Some of you are going, oh, whoa, that's not true. No, Argentina's better. Well, that's an argument. That's why the word argument has the meaning it does now on the streets, that it's a disagreement, because people often disagree when people put out an argument. However, the point here is not whether it's true or not, is whether it's supported or not. And in this case, it is supported. Is the conclusion debatable? Absolutely. But the point is, did you support it well? And we have to see. First, we look for the inference indicator. And in this sentence, it's the word because. What follows because is a premise, meaning evidence or a fact. So Germany's team won the World Cup in 2014. That's a fact. Google it. Look it up. Then the conclusion, Germany's soccer team is better than Argentina's soccer team. And is this supported? Absolutely. They won the World Cup, the highest competition for soccer. So it's pretty well supported. That is another argument. Is it debatable? Absolutely. Will everyone agree? No. But the whole point of an argument, did you support it with strong evidence? And it's pretty well supported. How do we identify an argument? Step number 1, we look for the inference indicator. So it's those set of words that either signal a premise or a conclusion. They help out immensely. Now, when you get into advanced argumentation, sometimes the arguments will not have an inference indicator. But now, since you're beginning to learn it, we need to look for them. And for the most parts, arguments do have inference indicators. So the first step, which will make it very easy, look for the inference indicator. Then, determine the premise. If you have a conclusion indicator, well, just look before that word. What comes before it will be the premise. If you have a premise indicator, well, what comes after it will be the premise. So go back and review those words. What comes after this type of word? What comes before it? And so on. Then determine the conclusion. Then after you've done that, if a premise and conclusion are present, it is an argument. If you can't determine a premise or a conclusion altogether in the same sentence, then it's not an argument. It's simply a statement. In order for it to be an argument, it must have a premise and a conclusion. Both have to be present. Because an argument is a claim, the conclusion, supported by another claim or claims, which are the premise or premises. So let's try the step-by-step process here. Kobe Bryant has broken almost all of Michael Jordan's basketball records. So Kobe Bryant is a better player than Michael Jordan. Now some of you are saying, whoa, there you go again, man. You're making those claims. But that's the whole point of an argument. I'm making a claim, and I'm supporting it with another claim or claims. Is it debatable? Absolutely. Will everyone agree? No. So we look, number 1, for the inference indicator. And in this sentence, it's the word so. So is a conclusion indicator, meaning what follows it is the conclusion. It's the main claim. So Kobe Bryant is a better player than Michael Jordan. What comes before it is the premise, which is the supporting claim. Kobe Bryant has broken almost all of Michael Jordan's basketball records. A premise has to be a fact or evidence. In this case, this is fact. Kobe Bryant has broken almost all of Michael Jordan's basketball records. So the conclusion is he's better than Michael Jordan. That is an argument. It's a claim supported by another claim or claims. Example number 4. California has good weather, beaches, and huge theme parks, unlike Arizona. Therefore, California is a better state to live in than Arizona. First step, we look for the inference indicator. And in this sentence, it's the word therefore. Therefore is a conclusion indicator, meaning what follows it is the conclusion. It's the main claim. It's the argument. California is a better state to live in than Arizona. What comes before it is the premise, the supporting claim. So California has good weather, beaches, and huge theme parks, unlike Arizona. That is evidence. That is a fact. California does have good weather. Has a lot more beaches and they're a lot nicer. And they do have huge theme parks. So if my argument's California is a better state to live in than Arizona, I have good supporting evidence. I have a good premise to back up the conclusion. And that is an argument. Now some trivia. The word arguments is a Latin word which means to make clear or to prove. Because an argument clearly shows what one person thinks and believes and explains why. So if I think Germany's soccer team's better than Argentina, I showed and explained why. If I think Kobe Bryant is a better basketball player than Michael Jordan, I've shown why I believe that. I've proven it. I've made it clear. Made clear is a better way to think about it than prove. Sometimes you can prove things using arguments. Is Kobe a better player than Michael Jordan? Not quite sure people can prove that. Is Argentina better than Germany? Maybe not so much prove, but I can make clear why I think that. However, let's look at an example where you can prove something using arguments. This is an argument from Aristotle, the great philosopher and scientist from the 4th century BC, meaning he left 2,300 years ago. He argued that the earth was round, meaning it's a sphere, that long ago. And he used an argument to show what the truth was and to convince people of it. He said the earth is round because people that travel to the south see the stars which are normally on the horizon in Greece rise up higher in the sky than the horizon, and that's a property of a sphere. And the shadow of the earth on the moon during a lunar eclipse is curved. So we look for the inference indicator. That's the word because. What follows it should be a premise. And in this case, we have two premises. If you remember the definition of an argument earlier, it's a claim supported by a claim or claims, meaning more than one. So the first premise is people that travel to the south see the stars which are normally on the horizon in Greece rise up higher in the sky than the horizon. So imagine this. You're standing up at night, you look all the way down on the horizon directly in front of you, and you see stars rise up. They don't get any higher than that. However, if you travel much further south, so pretend we were living in Greece, now we go to Africa, to Egypt, to Ethiopia, and we look up at the sky, look at the same star, we'll find it rising much higher in the sky. We're going to have to look up in order to see it. And that property right there is a property of a sphere. If the further down you move along a surface of a sphere, what you were looking at that was directly in front of you rises, that's a sphere. So Aristotle used this as his first premise, first piece of evidence that the earth was round. The second piece he used was during a lunar eclipse. So lunar eclipse is when the sun's light is blocked by the earth comes in between the sun and the moon, so the moon doesn't shine for a while. He said, well, look at the shadow of the earth. When it starts, it's curved. And when the eclipse ends, it's curved. Meaning what went in between the sun and the moon, which is the earth, is curved. It's round. So his conclusion was, the earth is round. And yes, he came to that conclusion and proved it 2,300 years ago. And people after him in the West, for the most part, believed it and accepted it as science. That's why Christopher Columbus wanted to go west to get to India, because he said if the earth is round, you can get there by going the other way too. And that is the power of arguments. They can show you what the truth is. Many times, not all the time, but many times. If you're interested in more about arguments, you can go to the video on deductive arguments, which is one type of argument, or inductive arguments, which is another type. or logical fallacies, meaning mistakes that you make in an argument that make your argument very weak. Go ahead and click on the one you want to see, and thanks for watching.